You were looking at John Badalament, who is the author of the book, The Modern Dad's Dilemma, How to Stay Connected with Your Kids in a Rapidly Changing World. John, good to see you.
Great to see you.
I should let everyone know that we have two of our guys, Chris and Nick, turning 6 and turning 8 in the next couple months, in the green room, running around. They're behaving themselves?
Absolutely. I was playing catch with them a few minutes ago.
You talk about dilemmas. It's because my wife is working off doing what she's doing, and she's like, could you watch the kids? Sure, I'm taping. Bring them in. I'll let the guests watch them. We do have a dilemma, don't we?
We do. We do.
What's the dilemma? I used to think that if I just made a few bucks and took care of the family, I was involved, knew my kids enough, I'd be all right. That's not even close.
Not anymore. I think that's the good news and the bad news. I mean, the bad news is I think guys are starting to discover that breadwinning and caretaking is part of the job description now.
It's not either or, is it?
It's not either or. It's not go to work, bring home the bacon, kick your feet up on the, what would happen to you if you followed your dad, the job description your dad had?
Listen, Dad, you watch occasionally, I'm sure you're the best. You're a great guy. But sweating these issues, it was like he'd be sitting there on the couch saying, there wasn't any remote. He'd say, get up and turn the channel.
Sure.
I said, what do you mean channel? He said, just get up and change the channel. That's my point.
Right.
He was just hanging.
Right.
We served.
Right.
It doesn't happen.
No, today the job description's different. And the good news is, I think more and more guys are discovering that this new job of being a caretaker, being involved in your kid's life, actually has a huge reward, has a number of rewards. The biggest reward is we have closer relationships with our kids when we know what's happening in their lives, when we're involved, when we're engaged.
It's big. I mean, one of the things with our guys is they played, Chris and Nick actually played baseball for the first time on a team, age-wise. They're 20 months apart. And they asked if I would coach the team. And I was like, okay, I'll coach the team. And then I was concerned about the time commitment. I can't describe the benefits, the satisfaction, the joy of coaching these kids, the two of them together, plus these other kids. Yes, it's a commitment. The payoff is huge. First of all, they're funny. Right?
I got that first couple
Not just
minutes.
my kids. I'm talking about
kids
are
in general.
funny.
Absolutely.
And they challenge us, and they're very loving.
Right. And you would know that if you weren't there, And a lot of guys, I think that's the struggle today, of course, is how can I show up? How can I make the time? And, frankly, I don't think there's any magic pill. I don't think there's any magic bullet. I think what it takes is it does take a commitment. It takes negotiating with your child's mother and really insisting as a dad on being there and really knowing your kids. And that's one of the themes in the book that I found to be most resonant is knowing your kids. It sounds so fun. It sounds so simple.
It sounds like a cliche.
Right. Of course you have to know your kids. But what I mean by that is, and I have a quiz, which I'd be happy to give you
Give me a couple.
Fire a few questions at you, called the How Well Do You Know Your Kids quiz. One recent accomplishment your children are most proud of.
Really? You want to know that?
Yeah, you got it.
All right. Chris is proud of the fact that he got an award, actually, in the baseball team. He was one of the fastest kids on the team. And Nick got an award for being the power hitter on the team.
Great. Perfect. So this is a dad who knows what's going on in his kid's life. What's the biggest, you don't have to answer these, but what are the biggest disappointments of this year? What's going on in school? Can you name one thing that's been going on in school?
How about battles with other kids in school?
Sure.
Like you need to know that.
Absolutely. The point being that this quiz, which when I was writing this book, ironically enough, would routinely fail because I would, tune in and out, is a way for dads, like a checklist of things that are important to know. Why? Because knowing your children is a way to communicate to them that you love them and that they're worth your time. They're worth your interest.
Why did you even write this book?
Oh, it's a long story, but the short version is I wrote the book that I didn't see out there when I became a dad, about 7 years ago.
By the way, who are your dad to?
I have Stella, who's 7, and I have Jake, who's 5. So
all right, same
very
neighborhood.
Similar. Yeah, same neighborhood.
By the way, we have a baby girl coming, which, and I have an 18-year-old about to go to school, college. I'm like, huh?
Should be interviewing you.
No. I can just tell you all the mistakes I've made.
And that's good. And you tell them the mistakes, too. That's important.
I'm not telling them. Okay. But for you didn't see the book out there.
No, I didn't see the book. And specifically, I wanted practical things that I could do. And I've been doing this for a decade now. I've been talking to dads. I primarily go to schools. And I help schools to engage dads. And I feel very lucky to be able to do this. I get to meet with lots of dads and talk to them and hear their stories and hear what they need. So in the book, I've put in there the best kind of road-tested activities that I think guys need today. How do I connect with my kids? How do I build a strong, healthy relationship? In the book, I go through very practical ways to do that.
A couple things I want to put out here. By the way, the name of the book, put up the book, guys, again. The Modern Dad's Dilemma, how to stay connected with your kids in a rapidly changing world. Interesting. One of the things that I thought about here is that divorce plays a big issue, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Divorce plays a big issue, and it's not, and statistics show a lot of guys after divorce will lose touch with their kids.
Yeah.
So it really takes an extra effort, but it is doable. It is still possible to build and sustain a close relationship with your kid from a distance. And that means going the extra mile to know what's happening in their lives.
Right. Interesting. I'm curious about this. Do you think being a dad is any more challenging or difficult if you're a dad to a son or a daughter?
I don't think I think there are differences in boys and girls and raising a boy and raising a girl. I think there's so many challenges with each of them. I hate to say it, I've got one of each. I don't think it's
That's
any
why I asked
easier.
you.
No, because you've got, what, 3 boys and then a girl on the way?
3 boys and a girl coming, yeah.
Yeah. No, I just think it's different.
About that.
Well, a lot of us are. I mean, you've probably already got that, what do I do when the boy knocks at the door, right? And she isn't even born, or she's not,
no,
she's
she'll
on
be
the way.
born in a couple months.
Okay.
I tend to be very physical with the 2 little boys you met.
Right.
Meaning we wrestle all the time and we're constantly, I tickle them way too much, I'm sure. And my wife's like, they're going to after dinner I'm terrible. She goes, You always go too far.
Right.
Is it just me, or is that something that's very physical about dads and sons? And I always wonder, it's got to be different with little girl, right?
No, actually, it's not, because I know exactly what you mean, and I wrestle and have that physical, it's about affection. Because when we wrestle, I still do that with my stepdad. I still see him, and I pop him on the shoulder, and he can, bend me into a twig in about 2 seconds still. Always will be able to. But I do the same. I do the same wrestling and roughhousing with my daughter, and I think it's and I think it's actually really healthy to do that.
How much of this, for a lot of us who try to work hard at it and be the best dads we can be, how much of it, and I know this sounds terrible, but I'll say it anyway, how much of it is trying to do for our kids what we think we didn't get ourselves?
I think a lot of it has to do with that, and I think if you're aware of what you're trying to do, what you're trying to repeat, what you're trying to do differently, in the book, the second practice I have is legacy, and that is you got to look at where you came from, and of course it's natural that we're going to want to do what we didn't get, and I think that does drive a lot of men today to be better dads, and I think that's fine. The line is, you don't want to try to make your kid into somebody they're not. If you're not paying attention, and actually Lorne Michaels, the creator and founder of Saturday Night Live, is one of the dads I interviewed in the book, and he has just a wonderful way of saying that you've got to be there, you've got to pay attention to who they are, that your job as a dad is to pay attention to who they are and who they're becoming. And that's
sorry for cutting you off. Unplug one more time. You all right with that?
Yeah, it's great.
The Modern Dad's Dilemma. John, great work. I learned a lot. I'm sure we all did.
Thank you.
I loved it.
Thank you.
Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by the St. Barnabas Healthcare System, Seton Hall University, a home for the mind, the heart, and the spirit, MD Advantage Insurance Company of New Jersey, and by QualCare Inc., a local managed care company covering 750,000 New Jersey residents. Promotional support provided by the Star Ledger and NJ.com, Everything Jersey. And Inside Jersey, a magazine about life and living in New Jersey. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been produced in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System. Don't miss Steve Adubato and co-host Raphael P. Rahman each week on New Jersey Capitol Report. Saturdays at 8:30 a.m. on 13 and Sundays at 7 a.m. on NJN Public Television.